I can remember the night that I first heard Hey Boy by the DC Blossoms on the legendary Shrine label from Washington, DC. I was upstairs at the Blackpool Mecca's Highland Room and the record was played by Ian Levine. I rushed off to the side of the hall and noted it down on an old beer mat. The DC Blossoms on Shrine, Hey Boy. It was a record I pursued for years and years, but was never successful in finding it. Ironically, I was a student in Washington, DC for several years, but never managed to trace the record. One reason was that the Shrine label had all but been destroyed in the aftermath of the assassination of Martin Luther King. When he was shot, the rioting in downtown Washington set fire to a distribution warehouse called Waxy Maxie's. And Waxy Maxie's was where much of the Shrine catalogue was held. And so, despite pursuing thrift stores, old record stores, jumble sales, anywhere where I could find records, it eluded me. One day, however, much further south in Birmingham, Alabama, I was working on a project and I passed a store which had old records outside. The drawback here was that not only was it in the south, in a neighbourhood that was probably predominantly white, it appeared to be an old country and western store selling guns, rural equipment, all sorts of paraphernalia. I searched in every box and there was nothing much for me. I collect only soul music, and so the idea of Merle Haggard or any of the big country stars that were being recycled in the box were of no interest. In the last box, and it's always the last box, were this mix of stuff, old R&B, a little bit of soul, and there, 3/4 of the way through the box, was a pristine copy of the Hey Boy by the DC Blossoms. I couldn't believe my luck. I couldn't believe that something in such great condition was so far from home. Somehow, miraculously, perhaps even astonishingly, this record had survived the riots in Washington, DC, and it found its way down south to Birmingham, Alabama. I bought it, it was cheap, $1, and I walked out of the shop, and collecting records, I've never felt more thrilled that day than when I first saw the record. To this day, it mesmerises me even still. Periodically, if I play at a Northern Soul Club, I'll pull it out the box and I'll wonder by what mad circumstances it came into my hand. It's now probably worth about £2,000 or £3,000, the record. But for me, it talks much, much more to another issue. Not so much the value of the records, but the serendipity that led to it being in my hands. DC Blossoms, Hey Boy.